So today we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita. We're reading from chapter number 6, text number 30. This chapter is entitled Dhyana Yoga, and this is Krishna speaking to Arjuna. So I'll speak the Sanskrit and then I'll speak the English. Jomam pasyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pasyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. Jomam pasyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pasyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. Yomam pasyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pasyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. So this is the English translation of the verse. Krishna says, "For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me." Yeah, I'll repeat it once more. Very interesting verse. Krishna says, "For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is that person lost to me." And I'll read Prabhupada's purport on it in the first few lines. A person in Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, but in each and every instance he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the development of love of Krishna, a position transcendental to even material liberation. At this stage of Krishna consciousness, beyond self-realization, the devotee becomes one with Krishna in the sense that Krishna becomes everything for the devotee, and the devotee becomes full in loving Krishna. An intimate relationship between the Lord and the devotee then exists. In that stage, the living entity can never be annihilated, nor is the personality of Godhead ever out of the sight of the devotee. To merge in Krishna is spiritual annihilation. A devotee takes no such risk. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita 5:38, "Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santa shadeva hridayo shuvalokayanti yam shama sundamana chintya guna swarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami." I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyam Sundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. At this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. In the case of a yogi who sees the Lord as Paramatma within the heart, the same applies. Such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord himself. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Mat Sarvasva Padam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohano Mukham Karati Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Jat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So again, thank you everyone for coming this evening to Bhaktivedanta Mana. So here, Krishna is making a very wonderful point. Krishna is saying that it's possible to see Him everywhere. Of course, most people in the world don't believe in God, and they are saying the reason we don't believe in God is because we can't see God anywhere. So now we see in the world that most of the world is atheistic. They don't believe in God. They don't go to any religious place. The churches are empty. Many temples are empty. Thankfully not this one, but many are. And we see that God and religion is not seen as a very intellectually advanced thing. People say there's no God. They have another God in mind. I was walking down the street and I saw one person, he had a t-shirt. So on the front of the t-shirt it said, "I used to be an atheist." So I thought, okay, he used to be an atheist, that's good. And then he walked past me, and then on the back of the t-shirt it said, "But then I realized I was God." Even in India, recently I was in India, but this was a few years ago. I was in India, and there was a huge billboard, as you have in India and many other places around the world, and it had a picture of Sachin Tendulkar. And it said, "Sachin is our God, and cricket is our religion." Of course, we even have the scientists of the age who believe that science has answered all the questions. We come from monkeys, evolution, the Big Bang, life from chemicals. We have now scientifically proven that God doesn't exist because we have found all the answers ourselves. Right? One time they came to Srila Prabhupada and said, "Prabhupada, the scientists, they say we come from monkeys." Prabhupada said, "Come from monkeys? I say these people are still monkeys." And Prabhupada was very strong. Then they said, no, they say they've worked out all the theory of evolution. There's just a few missing links. Prabhupada said, "The only missing link is my foot in their face." Very strong. Why so strong, you may think? Because people are trying to take God out of the picture. Even philosophers over the century have tried to take God out of the picture. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most famous German philosophers of all time, he was famous for the statement, "God is dead." Of course, in New York, there was a wall, and it had Friedrich Nietzsche's quote, "God is dead, signed Nietzsche." And underneath it, someone else wrote, "Nietzsche is dead, signed God." So many different conceptions are there trying to take God out of the picture. Even on the internet now, there's a website, "Google is God." Why? Because Google can answer all your questions. Google can give you anything you want. Google is there all the time. Google is your best friend. Google is the closest thing you'll find to God in this world. And if you don't believe me, you can go on the internet and even look it up. There is now a church of Google. And now they have the Church of Google 10 Commandments also. So if anyone's looking for a new religion, there's an option there. Not that I'd recommend it, but... So in different ways, people are trying to take God out of the picture. Saying that God, we cannot see Him. And this is a very relevant question. Can we see God? Okay, so now we do a little survey in the room here. Who here believes in God? Okay. Who here has seen God? A few people were going, but they weren't sure. So then the atheist will say, you all believe in God, but you've never seen God. Krishna is saying that you can see me everywhere. And if we look a little bit deeper into Srila Prabhupada's purport, then Prabhupada explains how we can all see God everywhere. In the famous pastime of the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you look at this picture here, right on the side, then we see there is Lord Nrsingadev, and on his lap is Hiranyakashipu, and on the side is Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was a demoniac king. He was looking around everywhere and he said, where is Vishnu? Where is your Vishnu? I can't see him everywhere. I can't see him anywhere. And Prahlad was saying, you can't see him anywhere? I can see him everywhere. Hiranyakashipu said, you can see him everywhere? Where is he? Prahlad said, he's here, he's there, he's inside, he's outside, he's everywhere. Hiranyakashipu said, everywhere? Is he in this pillar? Prahlad said, yeah, he's in the pillar. So then Hiranyakashipu hit the pillar and Vishnu came out. Hiranyakashipu said, I cannot see God anywhere. Prahlad said, I can see God everywhere. So there's a little bit of a difference here. Why is it that some people cannot see God anywhere and other people can see God everywhere? There's a difference. And that's the difference that we have to look at. There's different ways in which we can see God. And the first way that God manifests himself in front of our eyes is in the form of the Murti. Now, of course, people will come into this room and they will say, the Murti is just a stone. It's just made of stone, metal. How can you say that this is God? In our ancient Shastras, it's explained that God comes down in this world in this form of the Archa Vigraha to accept the worship of his devotees, of those who are eager to see him. This form of Krishna that we're seeing here is actually Krishna himself. We are all sitting in the presence of God. The Murti is not just a representation of God, an image of God. The Murti is actually God. Because when we install the Murti, then there's one puja called Pran Pratishta. And Pran Pratishta means when Krishna actually enters into that form. So we should be under no doubts. We are in a room with God. And although that form may be made of material elements, it doesn't reduce God's ability to manifest in that form. Like, okay, we do an experiment. Would everyone like to do an experiment? Yeah? Okay, so there's a price for the experiment. I need someone to give me like a £5 note. Can you give me a £5 note? Do you have a £5 note? Anyone? You know, if you have a £50 note, it works better. Okay. Oh, there's another one. Oh, it's all coming in now. I should do this more often. It's okay, one is enough. Okay, so here we have a £5 note. Okay? We all wish we had many more of these. Okay? So here I have a piece of paper. Okay? So I'm just going to rip this paper in half, yeah? Fine? No problem, right? Everyone's peaceful, I can see. Okay. Can I rip this in half? Yeah. Whose note is it? Yeah. Yeah, that's why you're saying yeah, because it's his note. Can I rip this in half? You may say yes just to be brave. But if I rip this in half, there'll be some emotional difficulty there. Can you imagine? Now my question is, this is paper, and this is also paper. When I tore this in half, no one blinked an eyelid. When we talk about ripping this in half, there's some difficulty there. So now my next question is, what is the difference between this paper and this paper? Yes. It's authorized. But so what if it's authorized? It's of value. So this is authorized, isn't it? On the note it says something like that, I'm sure. The Bank of England, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £5. This is paper, but this carries some authorization from higher authority. Therefore, number one, it carries extra value, and you can actually do things with it. Okay, if I go into IKEA and fill up the trolley and then go to the checkout counter and give them this and say, it ain't going to work, right? It's just not going to work, right? But if I give them this, it's going to work because this is authorized. But on another level, this is paper and this is also paper. So, this may be material. And someone may look at the murti and say the murti is material. The material may be the same. But because this form is authorized by God, because God says, I will appear in this form, it carries extra value and you can actually engage and achieve something in the world if you interact with it in the right way. You can have this back now. So the first way we can see Krishna is we have to learn to see Krishna in this form of the murti. People are very, very skeptical. People are very skeptical. They say, how can God come in a material form like this? But the reason why they are skeptical is because they're treating this form as material. If you relate to the murti in a material way, then the murti will relate back to you in a material way. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stateva bhajami aham. As one surrenders unto me, I relate back to them in the same way. So if we're walking in the corridor and I walk right past you and I don't even look at you and I don't speak to you, then you probably won't speak to me either, right? Unless you're an incredibly extroverted person, right? You generally won't speak to someone if they don't speak to you. So the reason why people are not seeing Krishna in this form or experiencing Krishna in this form is because we're not treating Krishna as a person in this form. And therefore, when we see Krishna and when we take darshan of Krishna and when we treat Krishna as a person and try to do something for him in this form, then we will actually realize that Krishna is real. If you go to one temple in India, it's Udupi, right? It's towards the south of India on the west coast. There's a famous deity there of Udupi Krishna. And in front of that deity there's a door and there's 9 holes. And if you want to see the murti, you have to look through one of these 9 holes. And do you know what those 9 holes represent? They represent the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. In other words, if you hear about Krishna, serve Krishna, you do something for Krishna, then you can see Krishna. But if you come in front of Krishna and you're just skeptical, and you don't treat Krishna as a person, then you will never see Krishna as a person in this form. So these murtis are very real, and we can actually experience Krishna in this form, but we have to develop the devotional spirit. Has anyone been to the ISKCON temple in Juhu, Bombay? Okay, so many of you have been. In the ISKCON temple in Juhu, of course, if you see our murtis, then they always wearing new dress every day. So in Juhu, the dresses for those deities, Radha Ras Bihari, are actually made by a Muslim tailor. And every year when he has to make new dresses for the murtis, for the deities, he says, can I come? I need to take measurements of the deities. So the devotee said, what do you mean? You took measurements last year. He says, yeah, every year measurements change. Every year the measurements of the deities, the measurements of the murtis are changing. And he is from Muslim background. So there are many, many different stories like this. But suffice it to say that if you worship and approach Krishna in a very personal way, if you approach Krishna and the Murti in a very personal way, then you will experience Krishna as a reality face to face. So the first way we can see Krishna is in his Murti form. There's another way we can see Krishna. Krishna explains that he is actually in the heart of everyone. It's explained in the Upanishads, Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya Samanam Briksham Parisasvajate. That if you imagine there's a tree, and on the tree there are two birds. One bird is eating fruits, and the other bird is just watching. Then the Upanishads explain that is just like this body. In this body there are two souls. One is the Atma, that's who we are. And we're trying to do so many things in the world. And the other bird is the Paramatma. And the Paramatma, the super soul, Krishna who is in the heart, is simply witnessing. What is this person doing? As soon as the soul in this world decides that I've had enough of this world and I want to go back to the spiritual world, then the Paramatma in the heart begins to guide that soul all the way back to Godhead. Therefore, I think most of you have this Bhagavad Gita edition, but if you look in the picture section, then there's one picture here where it shows how the Pandit, one who is very learned, can see that in every single person Krishna is residing. Krishna is residing within every single person. And therefore, one can actually see Krishna within other people. And sometimes Krishna will speak to you through other people. Does anyone ever have that experience? Sometimes Krishna will inspire you through the words of someone else, because Krishna is in their heart. Therefore, you can take advice from anyone sometimes, because Krishna is in everyone's heart. So even you may think this person is not so spiritual, but still, even they can sometimes give you good advice. Like one time, Srila Prabhupada was in Amsterdam. So they were installing deities there, murtis. So everyone had gathered and the temple was packed. And all the news channels had arrived to report on what was going on. Now there was one small problem, that the local devotees in Amsterdam had made no good arrangements. So it turned out that the person who was making the altar didn't communicate with the person who was bringing the murtis, so the murtis were bigger than the altar. So immediately, that's a bit of a problem. So then that was a problem. Then they make some makeshift altar. So Prabhupada said, okay, doesn't matter, you did it wrong, let's carry on. So then they carried on a little further. Then it came to the yajna. And there was no fruits there. So how can you have a yajna without any fruits? So then Prabhupada said, where are the fruits? So then everyone was looking at each other. No answers. So they said, okay, we'll get some fruits. So then someone ran away, and then in 10 minutes they came back with fruit salad. So Prabhupada said, fruits, I didn't ask for fruits. How can you use fruit salad in a yajna? Prabhupada said, I wanted fruits. So he said, anyway, so like this, one problem after another. And as the problems were coming, Prabhupada was getting more and more angry. And he was shouting, he began shouting, why hasn't this been done? Why hasn't this been done? And the TV cameras were there. And the TV cameras were filming everything. This was the Swami, the person who was supposed to be very peaceful, very saintly, and he was shouting at the top of his voice, why has this not been done? But he didn't care. Because Krishna was the prime consideration. So he was shouting, and why hasn't this been done? He was getting more and more angry. And then one hippie came. And he looked at Prabhupada and he just said, hey Swami, relax, just chant Hare Krishna. And everyone looked at the whole situation thinking, why God, he doesn't realize this is the person who brought the chanting of Hare Krishna to the whole Western world. Prabhupada looked at him, Prabhupada got his bead bag and just started chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare. In other words, Prabhupada saw that even Krishna was speaking through that hippie. So, if we train our eyes, then we can see that Krishna is actually within every single person, residing as the Paramatma, inside everyone. So, is there a day goes by when you don't see someone? Every day you see someone. So, when you see someone, then you can understand that Krishna is within their heart, and then you can see Krishna like that. There's a third way we can see Krishna. Krishna explains that He is the source of the creation and that He is everything within the creation. Like now, I'm getting a little old, over 30 now, the big 3-0. So now sometimes what I do in the mornings, I go for a walk up the road, up and down the road. So other day I was walking early in the morning and I was looking up and it was a clear day. And of course, in the early morning here, you can still see the stars. So I looked up, there were no clouds and I saw the whole sky and all the stars. And it's amazing. When you look at all the stars, when you look at the moon, you naturally think, where did this universe come from? Why am I even here? Who created this? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes, an intelligent person, when they look up at the stars at night, they can't help but think, there must be something more. So Krishna actually teaches that we can see Him also in the material creation. Because Krishna is the source of the material creation, we can see Krishna in the material creation. In one verse of the Gita, Krishna explains, Rasoham apsukonteya prabhashmi shashishoryayo pranava sarva vedeshu shabdha ke paurusham drishu. Krishna explains how you can see Him in every aspect of the material creation. Krishna says, I am Rasoham Apsukonteya. I am the taste in water. Is there a day that goes by when you don't drink water? There are a few, but we won't talk about it. Every day we drink water. Okay? Then Krishna says, Prabhashmi shashishoryayo. I am the taste of water and I am the light of the sun. Is there a day that goes by when you don't see the light of the sun? Okay, I know the weather's not good here and London and England is incredibly overcast, but we see the sun. Krishna says, Shashishoryayo. I am the light of the moon. Is there a day that goes by where you don't see the moon? Now, if someone is so stubborn and says, sometimes I don't drink water, and sometimes I don't see the sun because I just sleep, and I don't also see the moon because I even sleep at that time, so how can I then see Krishna? So Krishna says, Shabda ke Paurusham Drishu. I am the sound in ether. I am the sound of silence. Checkmate. Krishna says, I'm the taste of the water, the light of the sun, the light of the moon, and the sound in ether. Now you tell me how you cannot see Krishna every day. If you want to, you can see. Because Krishna is everywhere. Krishna is the source of this creation. So therefore we can see Krishna also through the world we're living in. When a devotee, a spiritualist sees the world, then everything reminds them of Krishna. One time Srila Prabhupada was at an airport, and he was with one of his brahmachari assistants, celibate monks. So as they were sitting in the airport, one lady walked by, and she was a pretty lady. She was quite beautiful. So Prabhupada looked at his brahmachari assistant and said, wow, just see, beautiful, huh? So he was bewildered. What does he say? Prabhupada says, she's very beautiful, isn't it? He was bewildered. What do I say? Yes? Maybe Prabhupada is testing me just to see. So what do I say? Yes? Do I say no? But then I'm disagreeing with him. So he was quiet. Prabhupada said, just see how beautiful she is. Now just imagine, if she is that beautiful, imagine how beautiful Krishna is, who created her. And in this way, the disciple realized and understood how Prabhupada was seeing Krishna everywhere. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam Shrimad urjitam evava tad tadeva vagachatvam mamatejam sasambhavam. That whatever beautiful, wonderful, amazing creations you see in the world, you should understand to be just one spark of my splendor. So the advanced spiritualist can see Krishna everywhere in the material world, because the creation reminds you of the Creator. And finally, we can also see Krishna through the events of this world, because Krishna has a hand in everything that happens. Nothing in our lives happens by chance, because Krishna is involved in everything. Just like today, you're not sitting in this room by chance. There was something behind it that brought you here. So similarly, our lives and whatever situation we find ourselves in was actually guided by Krishna. Agreed, sometimes it's very difficult to understand how Krishna is arranging things in my life. But rest assured, Krishna is. I'll tell you a story. Has anyone here ever been to Dwarka? Okay, many? Thinking of going? Excellent, wonderful. So in Dwarka, there's the famous temple of Dwarkadish. So one time, one man came to that temple, and he came to Dwarkadish. And he was praying that, can I be you for one day? I'd like to be you for one day. And Dwarkadish, the Murti, replied to him, you know, my job is a very difficult job. Because people come to me every day and they have so many prayers. I'm telling you, this is a stressful position. Are you sure you want to be me for a day? The man said, yeah, I want to know what it's like to be you for a day. So Dwarkadish said, okay, tomorrow we'll switch positions and you can be the murti on the altar and you can just stand there perfectly still and play my part. But just one condition, whatever you do, don't interfere with anything you see. Just stay still, be on the altar and just hear what everyone has to say. So he said, deal. So next day the person came in, dressed up as Dwarkadish, and he stood on the altar. And he stood perfectly still. And then people started coming, praying, like we have here. So first, one rich man came. So the rich man came in front of Dwarkadish, who was this person now, and he started giving his prayers. So he said, my wife, she's doing this, and he started downloading all his problems of life. And then he started coming up with all his business propositions that I need to, make this deal and corner this person and figure out what shares and stocks I should invest in. And he started giving all his business plans. And he said, Dwarkadish, just give me some fortune in my life. That was basically the sum total of his prayer. All materialistic things. So as they say, give me a house by the sea, a color TV, a 3 gig MP3, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So Dwarkadish, he was just listening. So as this person got up from his prayers, as he got up, he offered some notes, many notes in the donation box, and he put his wallet back in his pocket and he bent down. As he bent down, unfortunately the wallet dropped out. But he didn't notice, so he walked off. So now the wallet is lying there. Anyway, so now the next person came in. He was a very poor person, but a Vaishnava, a devotee. So he came to Dwarkadish and he said, I want to serve you better. I want to do more service for you. Can you provide me with these facilities so that I can offer you something and enhance my devotional service? And he was asking for all spiritual things. So he made his prayer. He bowed down, asking Dwarkadish that give me some fortune so that I can serve you better. And then he got up. As he got up and began to walk away, he saw the wallet. So he thought, my God, Dwarkadish, he's quick. Too quick. Too good to be true. So he said, my God, he had so much faith in Dwarkadish, he said, this must be his arrangement. So then he took the wallet. Must be arrangement. He took it. Then the third man came in. Third man was a sailor. So he was about to go on some voyage. So he bent down and he prayed to Dwarkadish that I'm now going on a voyage. Please protect me. I want to come back and see my family. My children are very young and this is a very dangerous voyage I'm going on. So please, just protect me. So he bowed down after making that prayer and he got up. As he was about to leave, the original rich man who lost his wallet, he came running in with the police. And he said, I lost my wallet here. Someone took my wallet. And he was shouting like this, shouting. So the sailor looked at him and said, just relax. If you lose some money, that's how life goes. Just relax. So this rich man, he got more angry. He said, you're saying that because you must have took it. So then he said to the police people, arrest him. He took it. The sailor. So then the police handcuffed the sailor and began to take him to prison. And now Dwarkadish, this man, he was watching the whole scene. So he thought, my God, this sailor, he's an innocent man. I've witnessed the whole thing and he hasn't done anything. So he came off the altar and started to speak. But remember, the original Dwarkadish said, don't say anything. But he didn't do that. He came off. So now the murti came off. Everyone was flabbergasted. My God, Dwarkadish has come off the altar. So they were very attentive. My God, God Himself has come to tell us something. So this man began speaking. No, it wasn't the sailor. It was actually this poor man. So then he gave the whole story. And then the police went to search out that poor man. They found him. And then they put him in jail. So then the day ended. Then his day as Dwarkadish was over. So then original Dwarkadish came back. So the man now spoke to the original Dwarkadish, and Dwarkadish said, how was your day? He said, very interesting to hear all the prayers of the different people. So Dwarkadish said, did you follow my instruction not to interfere with anything? And he said, I did for most of the day, but then there was this situation and I had to say something. So then Dwarkadish said, why did you interfere? I told you not to interfere with my plan. The man said, no, but it was a good thing I did. Dwarkadish said, no, it wasn't a good thing. Dwarkadish said, the rich man, it was a good thing for him to lose that money. Because he would only spend it on material things that will bring him more anxiety. Because of your interference, now he got the money back. Then Dwarkadish said, the poor man, it was my arrangement that he should have got that money. Because he will spend that money for the service of Thakurji, for the service of Krishna. He will do something good with it. But now, instead of that, he ends up in jail. And he said, it was my plan for the sailor to go to jail. Because now he's free and he's gone on that voyage. And on that voyage, the ship will sink and he'll never come back and see his family. Dwarkadish said, don't interfere with my plan, because my plan is perfect. So even in our lives, when it's difficult to understand the plan of the Lord, we have to understand that there is some deeper purpose behind it. Bhishma Dev says, Nahyasya karhichit papan puman veda vidit sitam. He says it's very difficult to understand the plan of Krishna, but there is some deeper purpose there. So Krishna says, you can see me everywhere. What's the first way you can see Krishna? In the Murti. Yeah? Second place you can see Krishna? Inside of everyone. Third place you can see Krishna? In the world, material world. And fourth place you can see Krishna? In the events of the world. Right? So anyway, if you want to remember it, you can see Krishna in the temple. T stands for temple. You can see Krishna inside every individual. Inside every individual is I. You can see Krishna in the material world. Material world, M. And you can see Krishna in the events of the world. E, events. So if you want to see Krishna, if you want to see Krishna face to face, it just requires some time. What do you mean? It requires some time. It requires time in the sense that you have to study these books. If you study these books, you will be able to see Krishna everywhere. Problem is, we are trying to see Krishna through the eyes. But we don't see Krishna through the eyes. We actually see Krishna through the ears. Therefore, one time, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, who was Prabhupada's spiritual master, he was giving a lecture like this. And someone came in front of the Murti and offered some donation and offered some pranams. And then the person walked straight out. And as the person was walking to the door, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj shouted to that person and said, "How was your eye massage?" Very strong. "How was your eye massage?" So this person was a little confused. "What do you mean, eye massage?" Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, "Coming here to the temple and simply seeing the murti, this is not enough. This is simply an eye massage, because you cannot see Krishna through these eyes. Instead of walking in and leaving, you should understand this philosophy and hear this knowledge. And then you'll be able to see Krishna through the ears." So our main problem is that we are not reading these scriptures. We are not making a determined study of this wonderful knowledge. Because this knowledge is the most amazing thing in the world. Krishna explains, "Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate nahi kalyanakrit kaschit kalenatmani vindati." In this world, there is nothing so pure, nothing so sublime, nothing so wonderful as transcendental knowledge. So, we thank you all for coming today to Bhaktivedanta Mana and taking the time to hear this knowledge. Our request is that you go away and you try to study these books. The Bhagavad Gita, we tell people, if you read 2 verses of the Gita every day, then you'll finish the entire Gita in 1 year. 2 verses a day will take you 15 minutes. 10 minutes. Could even take you 2 minutes if there's no purports. But if you read 2 verses every day, you will finish the entire Gita in a year. So why not make a determination to try and study this knowledge? Why not make a determination to go a little deeper in our spiritual life? Why not make a determination to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing? And why not make a determination to try and see Krishna face to face? Because it's possible. But it's only possible if you see Krishna through the ears. Therefore, when you see Krishna through the ears, we come back to the verse where Krishna says, "Yo mam pasyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pasyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati." Krishna says, if you see me in this way, you will see me everywhere. You will see everything in me, and you will never be lost in this world. So we thank you for coming. We'll have the Arati ceremony now. We don't have time for questions and answers. But thank you very much for coming. Hare Krishna.